Russillo Show on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Michael Wilbon's going to be with us this hour. That'll be a lot of fun. Talk some hoops, kind of what's next. With him, Adnan Virk, in studio, The Russillo Show, today on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We also want to remind all of the ESPN Radio listeners, those of you for almost 20 years that have consumed Mike and Mike and have seen these guys every morning, they've been nominated for the National Radio Hall of Fame, and this vote's going to be determined by the fans. So vote or text. Vote by text, or online at radiovote.com. Text 49400. Send the message 70 for Mike and Mike. Again, it's text 49400. Send the message 70 to vote for Mike and Mike. Or go online at radiovote.com and cast your vote there. One vote is permitted by cell and email address. Voting closes June 19th. The latest on the White House visit by the Warriors, it's still, not official? Is that where we're going right now? Because plenty of people have been more than comfortable saying they're not going. Unanimous vote by the Warriors. They're skipping the White House visit, and that's it. Done and done. The team said in a statement today is all about celebrating our championship. We have not received an invitation to the White House, but we'll make those decisions when and if necessary. And then the owner, Joe Lacob, was kind of annoyed, said, I can't believe we're getting this question already, but honestly, that's something we'll worry about at that time. That's a long time from now. I get him wanting to celebrate, but, welcome to 2017, man. You're going to get asked about it. Yeah, listen, Steve Kerr has been awfully vocal against the president. As soon as Trump was elected, Kerr said that he didn't like the fact that Trump regularly used racist, misogynist, insulting words during his campaign. Certain other players, David West had told the undefeated Spark Spears he probably would decline the opportunity. He said, I don't know, I probably won't, but I'm going to enjoy this. They're going to have to get me down from this cloud. I can't describe it. And I would imagine Steph Curry, Draymond Green, other of those guys would probably share their apprehension about going. If you don't know, Steve Kerr's deal is far more complicated and I would say even educated, if that makes sense. That his father was a professor at one point, specializing in Middle East, Arab world, American citizen, and was actually assassinated while he was in Lebanon, I believe. Mm-hmm. So Steve Kerr has had an awareness of international affairs and just the political world that I don't think you're going to get every day from just running into anybody. And then you had the Steph Curry issues when Kevin Plank, who is the founder of Under Armour, had said about Trump, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but essentially he was saying, with Trump in place, could be good for big businesses, tax, and this kind of things. And then all of a sudden, he had to apparently go and talk it out with Steph. I don't really think, even if these reports are premature, Adnan, I'd be surprised if this group went. I would agree with you because, listen, Trump is obviously deeply polarizing, and either you love him or hate him, and those that hate him really do have a passion and a disdain against him. So, like you said, the figurehead in Kerr has been really outspoken in his disdain for him, and I can't see enough of the other guys wanting to go. Imagine if Curry says, I'm not interested, Durant passes, Draymond Green says, no thanks. Do you think Zaza Pachulia is going to go, hey, you know what, I still wouldn't mind going, just to kind of check out the White House. Anybody coming with me? I'm sure they'll team vote this thing, and they go, all right, if the majority don't want to go, we're not going. Yeah, that's actually a really good question that you bring up. Could I be on the team and say, well, no, I kind of still wanted to go to the White House. And then do you feel like you have to, that I would have a problem with. If certain players want to go and they feel like they can't go, that's an issue. Absolutely. Because this shouldn't be a team thing. Yeah, because, Ryan, I think there should be a differentiation. You don't have to like President Trump to want to go to the White House. I could totally understand if a player goes, listen, I don't like this guy. I don't care for him. And my going is not supporting his presidency. But I want a championship. I want to go to the White House. I've never been. And this is a cool experience for me and my family. And I'm not going to hang out to the president and talk policy. I'll shake his hand if I have to, maybe get a picture and that's it. Or if I don't want to, that's fine too. I just want to go to the White House. And I shouldn't be criticized for that decision. When Tim Thomas, the Boston Bruins, very publicly said, I don't want to go because I don't support President Obama, he was lambasted for it. Now, I don't agree with Tim Thomas's beliefs, but I'm all right, I respect the fact he doesn't want to go. He doesn't like Obama. That's his decision. And the Bruins still went collectively as a team. So similarly, I would feel bad for a player who goes, listen, just because I'm going doesn't mean I endorse Trump. I just want to go. I could never imagine caring about it one way or another enough that I would go Yep, can't go. Like, no matter who was in office.
Right.
And I'm sure the counter to this is that it's never been this bad and that it's Trump and that you don't get it and all these different things. And look, I'll admit, I had a pretty open mind about things in the beginning, and now I'm like, oh, we're tweeting this stuff again. But I don't know. I don't know. Look, it wouldn't really matter what my political beliefs are. I would want to go and do this. But what this is becoming, it's basically like the least cool thing ever to go. Like, it's really uncool. Like, if you go as an athlete, then you don't get it, where you're applauded today for not going.
Having said that, Clemson Tigers went. New England Patriots went, although your buddy Chris Long did not go. Declined the invitation. The Pittsburgh Penguins said the team would accept an invitation if invited. In fact, David Morehouse, the CEO, said the Penguins would never turn down a visit to the White House. If invited, we would go as a team. So we could have three major champions, Patriots, Penguins, and Tigers, all go. Golden State would be the outlier in not going.
Yeah, you got me there.
Like, the majority would go, and I think the majority will go. The Warriors is maybe just the one team, because like we mentioned,
I guess I just look at how things are received, and it would be like we're sitting here surprised if Golden State were to go. And I have a hard time thinking, like, would Golden State really get that crushed for it? But I also think, what I pay attention to and how I kind of consume media and everything, like, let's face it, I mean, most of it's pretty anti what's going on right now.
Right.
And I also kind of get that at sometimes, but I don't think they would have to vote. I mean, if everybody in that locker room goes, I don't want to go. Hey, I don't want to go either.
Right.
Like, JaVale McGee going like, all right, you convinced me. I'm out too.
Right, but what if let's suppose JaVale McGee says, yeah, I do want to go because I don't like Trump and I want to voice my opinion, explain why I have issues against him. With the guy saying, like, no, man, come on, we can't go. If you go, let's support him. I'm like, no, I want to have an intelligent conversation with this guy. I want to explain to him my issues. And they go, listen, Trump's not going to take 5 minutes. Like, all right, JaVale, tell me what you're thinking. What's your thoughts on foreign policy?
Well, see, that's the thing that I would think is just absurd. Like, yes, Trump's going to be like, yes, rat tail guy. Let's talk foreign policy.
Right.
I've got 5 minutes.
Right. What do you think about the wall?
Right. Like, that wouldn't.
Exactly. Like,
that's not happening.
It's just a photo opportunity. He makes some prepared statements. We move on from there. I mean, Trump is not a big basketball fan, so I'm sure even the White House would think, well, hey, you know what? We don't need you guys there anyways. By the way, if the Warriors declined the opportunity, how quickly would Trump then send out a tweet denigrating the Warriors? I wish LeBron had won. You guys aren't real champions anyways. Like, put money on that tweet
automatic, because that would be necessary to get that message out there. All right, I'm going to leave the rest of that alone. Russillo Show, reminder you can listen to all 3 hours of the show on your phone, your ESPN app, or Apple Podcasts. Up next, let's talk about this Lonzo Ball ad from Foot Locker, because if you haven't seen it yet, you can watch it on ESPN News with us. We're going to run the whole thing, but you can hear the audio on the radio side. And trust me, if you haven't heard it or seen it yet, it's actually changing people's minds on Lonzo Ball and who he is as a person, which is really crazy that can happen in a very short amount of time, but it's happened all day today when it was first issued this morning. So with Adnan Virk, Russillo Show, ESPN Radio. Michael Wilbon with us in about 15 minutes, Russillo Show, Adnan Virk hanging out today. I want to thank him. Also a reminder, tomorrow, PMT, Barstool Podcast, PFT, and Big Cat. Big Tat is his lesser-known friend. Not nearly as much of a social media following. Big Cat PFT with us for 3 hours. They're actually going to be part of the pre-show meeting, and then I'm going to tape a podcast with them afterwards. So there's a really good chance we're going to be all really sick of each other. But we're just trying to do some different things here with the way the schedules break out. So excited to have those guys with us. And if you don't know who they are, which, look, they have a great following. They've done a great job. We'll get to know them a little bit more tomorrow. I have no idea how it's going to go, honestly.
I think it's going to be but I think it's great, and I think part of what people are looking forward to is that element of surprise because it's so unpredictable. Like USVP back together again, Chris Long, you guys are all boys. I don't know how well you know PFT and Big Cat. Obviously, well enough to extend the invite, but I mean, there could be some times this thing's going to go off the rails, and I'll be locked in for that all 3 hours. They texting small, and I'm like, is it getting a little weird? She's like, a little bit. Like, okay.
No, somebody saw me in the hallway. They're like, is the bigger guy going to pee in his chair? And I go, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think one of the guys. I guess that's a bit. Why is the podcast working so well? I've been peeing in my chair. So I don't.
Thankfully, the chairs are Scotch guarded. So
they are.
If that happens.
We can't drink in the studios, though. I don't know what it says about peeing.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I'm going to worry about that tomorrow.
Probably frowned upon.
That's going to be, what was that, Smallman?
I said, as you discussed earlier in the show, there's no liquids allowed in the studio.
Yeah, that's true. No liquids now.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Stricter rules. So if it happens, it happens. I'm just going to make sure we get to the hard out. All right, Freeze Pops, you and I will stay locked in. Progressive Insurance, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, and all of our guests are on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, even if they're paying. Lonzo Ball, to this point, just go, Adnan. Word association. I say prior to what we learned about him today, Lonzo Ball, go.
Crazy dad.
You didn't even say anything about Lonzo.
Right. But that's the first thing you think. If you're the Lonzo Ball, I don't think UCLA, I don't think star player, I don't think could go number 2 to the Lakers. Just go, crazy dad.
Okay, that's the first thing you do. Word association, crazy dad. I get that. And I think a lot of people looked at Lonzo and been like, does he even talk? Or what's going on here? He is so funny in this Foot Locker ad. We want to thank Foot Locker for letting us run this. You're going to hear it on radio. You can also see it as well on news. Jason Tatum from Duke, who's going to be a top pick, is in it. He has the line at the very end about fishing. De'Aaron Fox is in this. Jonathan Isaac from Florida State. So it's some of the kids that are going to go tops in this draft talking about their fathers. And Lonzo, as you can tell, just by hearing, kind of steals the show as the music cuts out underneath him. Here it is.
Dads are special. So many memories.
All those games of one-on-one in the driveway where he'd let me win. Just never missing a game.
Of course, there's that big day when your dad berates your high school coach in front of an entire crowd for not getting you enough touches. Waking up early to drive to all those faraway tournaments. Or that special moment when your dad sits you down and tells you where you're going to college. Copyright your name to make it a part of a family lifestyle brand. Went on First Take and shouted back and forth with Stephen A. Smith about how you're already better than the reigning league MVP. All those interviews from the stands during college games, the public spats with the all-time great, soundbite after soundbite to the national media, and then tells 29 out of 30 teams to not bother drafting you.
And fishing. We went fishing a lot.
I mean, listen, you got to be in on the joke, okay? And that's what Lonzo has shown right there. I get it. I know what you guys think about my dad. You think he's this big cartoon character. So far, I've been quiet about everything, so yeah. I'm going to play it up and have some fun. Great. Likeability through the roof. Everyone's all in on Lonzo Ball. You may not like his dad, but you watch that. How can you not like the kid? Root for him.
Whatever Lonzo Ball's approval rating was, it was just neutral there for a while. It went off today because everybody that saw this thought it was funny and absolutely loved it. But when you hear the part about the Stephen A. Smith line, there has to be a private moment where LeVar goes, I can't believe these people keep having me come on. Like, all I have to do is come on and say my son is better than Steph Curry.
Right. That's what I mean. That's why when I say he's in on the joke, like he totally understands.
You guys want me Thursday?
Right. I'll just say crazy stuff and you'll give me all this exposure.
What can I do?
Deal?
What can I do Friday?
Right.
Oh, I'll say I'll beat MJ one-on-one.
Right.
Like, hey, what do you got with us today? So is your son still better than Steph? Yeah, and I'm better than MJ.
Right.
Can't beat me one-on-one.
Right. I'll take shots at Barkley. Yeah. That'll get a little ruckus going. Perfect. Sir Charles, what do you got? Another shot across the bow. I mean, listen, there's no doubt everybody now knows LeVar Ball. They know his son. And I don't for a second believe the Lakers won't draft him because of his dad. They don't draft him because they want somebody else.
I don't think yes, I completely agree. If they like him, if they think he's the best player that is available there at number 2, they will draft him because they like him. And if they don't draft him, I totally agree that all of a sudden they decide, you know what, we kind of like Josh Jackson. Here's Jeff Goodman, though, on SportsCenter saying he's going number 2.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't. I think there's a push within their organization to take somebody like Josh Jackson. I think they really like him. But I think ultimately, Magic really likes Lonzo. And I think the Lakers go with Lonzo at the end of the day, even though they could use a guy like Josh Jackson. They could use a guy like Tatum. I mean, listen, they could use a lot. That's why they weren't very good. But I think at the end of the day, Lonzo is just such a throwback player, somebody who just makes people better in a day when that doesn't happen all that often these days at the point guard position, that I think Magic's going to take him.
That last part about who he is as a point guard is almost a negative in today's NBA game. You don't want multiple players. You try to find a way to keep anybody off the floor now that can't score, that can't threaten to score at some point. Like you don't want 2 bigs who can't shoot. And you used to not want point guards that were scorers. That used to be a bad thing. And now when you look at the point guards in this league, those are generally the primary scorers on a lot of teams. So if you were to say he doesn't need to score and it's kind of this throwback thing, well, wait a minute, is that some kind of negative? But it isn't with him. He just sees the game in such a great way. And I don't love the player comparison things because I do think the more you watch every one of these kids, it's just so hard to say, okay, this guy's the next, Rip Hamilton, and this guy plays exactly like that. A lot of it's body type and where they shoot from on the floor. But there is some real Jason Kidd stuff going on there. Because when you watch Kidd back at Cal, I remember watching him when I was in high school, and I would just go, I can't, like, how do you ever get to the point where you see the stuff that you see on the court? And Lonzo has a lot of that in him, so it's not completely ridiculous, even though if we're talking about somebody a year out of high school who is being compared to what's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and people criticize his shot, but they said the same thing about Ben Simmons. That didn't hurt his draft stock. We got to the point now with one and dones that you realize these guys are just kids, that they're not going to be finished products the way that they were in the past. So fine, as long as they have upside in other categories, defense and shooting, that can be taught. But the vision and skill, teams will be willing to jump all in on that.
I'm going to tell you right now, he's better than Steph Curry to me.
I mean, it's a bold statement, but why not? Throw it out there. Two-time champion, two-time MVP.
Why not better than LeBron? What?
Well, because then that's
He'll
really
save that
crazy.
for the car wash.
Yeah, that's correct. Exactly. You can't use all your
That
bullets.
actually is going to be my question. We get him for the car wash. I'm going to go, you must drive home from these appearances and go, I can't believe how stupid.
Yeah, he's cackling maniacally to himself.
Like, that's all I have to say.
The question I want to ask him actually is, how did you sit on the price of $495 for a pair of shoes?
I figure that's what the shoe is worth.
That one always makes me laugh.
That's the best one.
That one always makes me laugh.
I figure that's what the shoe is worth.
All right. Michael Wilbon, right here with us next. Adnan and Virk, Russillo Show, ESPN Radio.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million. What color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Really happy to have Michael Wilbon with us, joining us in the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. Adnan Virk, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. What's up, Michael? It's been a little while. Hope you enjoyed the playoffs. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm just recuperating. That's about it. It's a grind. I can't imagine how it is to playing all 4 rounds or just covering and traveling all 4 rounds. It's a little much at the end of it. So I'm ready. I enjoyed it, but I was ready for it to be over as well.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way because the playoffs weren't that great. But now we have this story today, and I guess the team isn't confirming it, but it feels like a lot of people are. How do you process what goes into the decision in 2017 for a team like the Warriors to decide whether or not they want to visit the White House after a championship run?
You talk to your players, and you leave it up to them. Right? You can't make somebody go to the White House. To me, it's very simple. You talk to your players, and if you think that enough of them don't want to go, you call the White House and say, listen, while some of us, and I'm particularly owners, and I know a few of the owners with the Warriors may want to come to this, we got X number of players who don't. What do you want to do? So I don't think this is very complicated. I think that's what you do. I think I know personally of a few players who will decline. And this is not, that's what we did this story on PTI about the Patriots, and I said, looking forward, when we get to situations like the NBA and certain college situations, I wonder how this is going to turn out. With the NBA, I knew it would be an issue, or I suspected it would be. And it ought not be that big an issue because we could have anticipated this. It wasn't that hard to see it coming.
Trump certainly is awfully polarizing, Michael. We all know that. But do you think that people would try to set aside and say, listen, I'm not going because I'm in support of the president, but I do respect the White House. I want to go and just see what it's all about and just observe. No?
Sorry, I'm talking to the wrong guy. No. I mean, no. If we want to get political, then, if this person doesn't respect the office enough in the traditional ways that I respect the office and previous presidents have respected the office, then why should I pay more respect to it than he does? No, not at all. And so, no, I don't have any problem with that. I mean, I played golf, which everybody sort of knows, with the previous president of the United States, and people said, well, suppose then the new president calls and asks you to play. I said, no, first of all, that won't happen. But secondly, no. No, you have, we talk about people and athletes sticking with their beliefs or abandoning them or having them in the first place. So if you have them, stick by them. And so, no.
What are the odds, Michael, that Trump would preemptively send out a tweet mocking the Warriors, knowing that they would decline the invitation anyways?
Oh, I'm sure he would. And that would demonstrate exactly why I wouldn't go.
You no more follow-ups? You just caught me off guard there. All right, Michael Wilbon with us, and I don't think any of this is even close to surprising. But as we look at the offseason, okay, and I was talking about it a little bit earlier. Do you remember when the NBA wanted to soften out the cap, and they were like, look, we're still going to pay you, but we don't want to have this massive cap spike, right? Remember all this?
Yeah.
Okay. And the easiest thing is as a player to be like, what do the owners want? Well, whatever they want is not what I want, and that's what the Players Association said. Michelle Roberts, absolutely not. I think there was one article I read today where they asked for an advance on the TV money, just to kind of go back at them. Do you think the players, and I think we know the answer to this first part, had no idea what this actually meant could happen, and so you don't have a softening of the cap? Now Golden State adds Durant. Do you think that the players now understood what the ramifications of not softening the cap meant, even knowing you would still get all your money, that they'd like to go back in time and revisit what this Warriors team became because of it?
No, because I think they'll adjust. They might in the short term. It's a great question. They might in the short term, but I think in the long term they'll think about how to get the cap, any salary structure, any budget like we have in our own families. You're always trying to figure out a way to get around it. How do we get around this? Where are the loopholes? Where are the soft spots? And how do I get mine if this is the structure? And so, sure, I always said that this deal was about superstars and not about rank and file. Although, rank and file is going to do just fine in this, too. But this is what we have now. And I think if given another chance, it wouldn't necessarily change it very much. Just average dollars and cents wise, the average salary after this whole thing finishes, and then the superstar players, we're talking, what is it? What's the number? $207 million for a guy like Chris Paul, say, and isn't it going to be like $240 for LeBron? LeBron and Durant's next contract if he's still playing at this level. So I don't think they necessarily. First of all, not that many people are smart enough to see around the corners. And if I'm not. I just don't. I can't see around the corners in our own business. I can't always see the pitfalls. I couldn't see a whole generation of people saying, I got a phone, therefore I don't need a TV. I can't see that. So I'm not trying to say this in an insulting way. I don't think most players saw that. That's not what they do. Their agents, a lot of them ought to have seen some of it, given the people that these big agencies employ to forecast the future economically. But the players themselves, I doubt it. And I think they'll just roll with it and figure out, okay, how do I get where I need to be? Particularly if you were one of those players making $207 million versus $165, you may decide, okay, I value winning. Look at some of the lower paid guys like Matt Barnes and oh my God, backup center on the Warriors now.
McGee?
Played for San Antonio and the Pacers for so long. I'm having a moment. But anyway, guys go and they leave money on the table at certain levels.
Oh, you're talking about David
time.
West. Yeah.
David West, of course. Yes, David West. Those guys make a conscious decision that they want to pursue a ring. So the question is what percentage of guys are going to do that, thinking the money they're going to get anyway is more than they ever dreamt? But I don't think they go back in time. That's an interesting question. I may be answering it in theory more than in practice.
Yeah, that's kind of because I was kicking it around last night and this morning, so I didn't mean to spring that on you because I don't even think
that's interesting, though.
It is, but it's not a fair question just in a 7-8 minute radio hit to be like, economically, how would you timeline these last few years? But it's something I've thought about a little bit more because I just know that you're right about the part with the players. There's so many players who'd be like, wait a minute, what happened? What does this mean? Yeah. And there's so many times that we do agree to stuff where we never really can understand the ramifications until they're hitting us in the face. And I would just wonder if you ask the players, if the Players Association is about 450 players, are there a bunch of players going, now we got this Goliath that we're dealing with when we all would have still been paid the same? It's just a theory. So anyway.
Yeah, and movement is not what it is to be able to challenge. I think it's more of a question now for the GMs and player personnel people. As they try to put together something to chase down the Warriors, like Danny Ainge addressed it yesterday. I'm sure you guys talked about it. What now? Like, what do they do? I think it's more immediate concern to them and their competitive instincts than even to the players.
From basketball to baseball, Michael, one last one for you. It's too late now to say it's still early because it's middle of June and your beloved Chicago Cubs are 500. I know the division stinks. They're only a game back of the Milwaukee Brewers, but what's the angst level right now in Chicago after winning the World Series, enjoying the honeymoon, and now having a team that's shaky?
Yeah, it's not very high, the angst level. The angst level is never very high in Chicago. I'm always trying to get people in the East Coast to understand we don't have angst. That's a Northeast thing, specifically a New England thing. We don't do angst. We go to Wrigleyville, we watch a game, people have drinks. I'm not a drinker. You have a pizza, and you say, let's go tomorrow too. We don't do angst. So are people a little ticked? Day by day, but after winning a World Series after 108 years, you're not going to have angst here, especially now. I mean, you're not going to have that. Am I ticked off when I see them giving up runs early in every game and trying to play catch up? Yeah. Do I hope that they can sort of maximize a run? I hope they can have a run, not a year. And maybe they need, but they're so young, maybe they need a down year in order to have a sense of urgency. Maybe they need to feel what it's like to not make the playoffs or something. But it is, what are we, 65 games in, something like that? I look at these results and I'm like, okay, are they, last week they won 5 games in a row and the story was Arrieta regains his 2 miles an hour in his fastball. He gets to 94 again. And every time there's somebody regaining something, the next week they go on a 6-game losing streak. So I don't know what to make of it. It'd be interesting to listen to Theo right now, which now that the basketball season's over, I'm not listening to anybody for a while. I'm going to take a break. But it would be interesting to listen to Theo on what he thinks it is and whether they, obviously management, Joe Madden and Theo, could have angst right now. I don't think they're at that point from listening to what they've been saying publicly, because they're pretty true publicly to privately in terms of how they project their feelings. But no, the city has got, people walking around. I'm standing right here off Michigan Avenue, and people are in their Cub hats, and they're in their jerseys, and the team is not even in town, and people are happy that they're playing, and it's sunny. That's how we are. And I know Bostonians and New Yorkers and Washingtonians and Philadelphians can't understand that, which is why we're also glad that we're not them.
Well said. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it.
All right, you guys. Be good.
Michael Wilbon, co-host of PTI. Watergate is not a new headline, but it is around these parts. We had our own Watergate here at the ESPN radio department, and we need to follow up on it because some feelings have been hurt, apparently, but it just, everybody needs to understand. So if you come to a tour and you're at ESPN and you go through the radio department and there's people eating pasta out of their hands and there's water bottles lined up throughout the hallway, you'll better understand that if you come here on a tour. With Adnan, ESPN Radio. If you miss any of the Ryen Russillo Show, you can subscribe to our Best of podcast available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe and review. Leave a comment. And that's the way it works. You can also check out, are you going to put on the movie one for Adnan on the Best of, or just have it be hour 2? All right. So Adnan Virk, who's been with us the last 2 days, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it, man.
I don't know. That movie face-off thing really seemed to work, and it was so seamless. I almost feel like did I subconsciously take that idea from somewhere else? Because I don't think I did.
People just love rankings and ratings. I've been flooded now with my Twitter, Adnan ESPN. People just keep throwing stuff out there. Casablanca or Ghost Dad. So I have to keep chiming in here.
Let's save that one for next time. So next time you're here, we'll do it again. But you know what would be epic is to get some production from the movie Face Off, John Travolta.
Yeah,
and
Nick Cage.
Just have some Nick Cage Travolta drops as we go in between each call of movie Face Off.
Love Face Off, by the way.
The movie?
Phenomenal action.
Better than Swordfish?
I like it more than Swordfish.
Properly rated.
Yeah, Face Off. People love it.
Better than Powder?
Yes, better than Powder. Close, but yes.
When's the last time you watched Powder?
I've seen it once, and that's it. Have not felt the need to revisit it. Face Off, I've seen multiple times.
I was stuck in a hotel room, caught a good half hour, 40 minutes of it the other day.
And? Underwhelming.
It's bad.
So properly rated.
Properly rated.
Yeah. There's a reason people don't revisit Powder.
Freeze Pops, you ever see Powder?
He is not.
No.
All right, you saved yourself a couple hours. You don't need to see it. But that's what I always get nervous with in this writing world. And then I meet somebody, you're in L.A. a couple months from now. You're like, oh, hey, you're the radio guy. Yeah. I was the second on Powder.
Oh,
I heard you killing it I was like, oh, well, yeah, I'm sure it was a great idea on paper. It just wasn't executed the right way.
Right. I think most of those people are self-aware, though. They come like, hey,
no, not that I've noticed.
Do you think he'd come at you and go, what you're not recognizing about Powder is the overarching theme that we were going for?
Yeah, how do you not understand? Like, Powder was great, and you're a jerk. Yeah, me and a couple thousand people.
Yeah, well, then he can come back and go, listen, I didn't like Worst Dude Ever. You go, okay, well.
No, everybody liked Worst Dude Ever.
Okay. David Miscavige.
There's plenty of other stuff that we've done
that people
bad.
Don't like,
Yeah. If somebody comes up to me and says, I don't like that segment, I go, I agree. I didn't think it was a good segment either. I got 12 a day.
Right.
I'm trying here.
That's the thing. People don't realize it's tough to crank them all out. But I'm telling you, the Powder guy can say the same thing. It's hard to make an original script in this day and age.
Okay, but if I have a bad segment and you have a movie that you wrote and was greenlit and then that was made and then like it's on Showtime the other day, I guess he should be pumped it's back in there. You know, we should stop.
Yeah,
the more I think about it, Powder wasn't that bad. All right, fine. Do you have something else you want to add?
No, I was going to say, any publicity is good publicity.
People are going to go rent Powder. I bet you 4 people watch Powder in the next 4 days.
Underrated.
One a day.
Let's not go that
Just
far.
because of that segment, four people are going to watch Powder that have never seen it before.
I'm going to watch it tonight.
All right. Sounds like your Wednesday's lit AF. All right. We had a Watergate issue here, and it is this. Someone who works on the TV side, so he's part of our crew, but not part of the radio department. He spilt over water, and it shut down some expensive electric equipment, and there's always been kind of this gray area about food or drink in the studio, and basically nobody had listened to the rule forever.
I was about to say, I don't think it's a gray area. I think it's not just frowned upon. Like, it's clear that it shouldn't be done, but all of us have ignored that rule.
Right, because it's hard to do this job and not get a chance to eat. Like, you have to go outside now and sit at this table in the hallway, and it looks like you're actually being punished. And nothing's worse than when the tour shows up and you're out there with like a cheeseburger. And you're like, what is going on here? I'm like, I run the board on Russillo show. Nice to meet you. Oh, you're from Long Island. Oh, it's great to meet how was the ride up? I'm just going to finish my burger. So everybody's really upset in the department because as you walk at any time during the day, they're just outside in the hallway eating, standing up all the time, trying to get it done. Like, you can't just sit at your station and get a little work done, edit here, bite there. Those days are done, and it's because of a guy that works on the TV side, and now everybody's really mad at him.
Previously on the Ryen Russillo Show.
They're calling it Watergate, by the way, so that's...
That is actually fitting.
They're pretty clever.
Right.
Watergate 2017, not involving Tricky Dick.
It's a bit like Full Metal Jacket, Gomer Pyle kind of a thing, where it's like you keep screwing up, and I'm afraid people are just going to beat you with bars of soap. Right.
Oh, gee.
But I like the guy that it happened to. And I don't think anybody's going to beat him to death with soap. I don't, because it would be a huge HR violation.
Right, and he's well-liked.
He is well-liked.
But there is definitely a backlash against
There's a real
frustration,
nasty vibe going on in the department right now. So if you've noticed that on any of your favorite ESPN products, that's kind of the backstory.
Now, kind of like, remember you mentioned Seinfeld earlier, Keith Hernandez episode. They said, well, there's a second spitter. Sources have indicated that it's not just one person responsible for Watergate. And you've mentioned this person as part of the show unit. Well, Tommy Freeze Pops, it was actually his water that was spilled. So there is culpability with at least 2 people. Tommy, what do you have to say?
I mean, look, I don't want to get too much into the details of what happened, but yes, it was my water. It's tight back here, people shuffling around, things happened, and a body went the wrong way, and water got on some stuff that it shouldn't have gotten on. I have to live with that.
You do have to live with that, because there's shared blame here. Everyone's looking for a fall guy. Multiple people here should be indicted. And one of them is Freeze Pops.
How thirsty are you guys after today's show?
I just said 2 minutes ago, I'm so thirsty right now. We're all dehydrated and parched.
And it really stinks because I'm a big water guy.
Yeah, I've heard that about you.
It's not.
How are the guys tomorrow going to react to this, the Barstool guys? What if they come in with a couple of hoagies? They're not. You think they're going to take this well?
Can't do it. You'd be banned. Be banned from the show.
But they're only here one day. What do they care? If things don't work out, like, all right, ban us.
Big Cat PFT in studio tomorrow. Thanks to Adnan. Bomani Jones is next. It's ESPN Radio.